Welcome into Bills Tonight Digital. The Bills fall to the Indianapolis Colts 41-15 is the final score, and the Bills are now 6-4 on the season, second in the AFC East. With that loss, the Patriots are number one in the AFC East. Maddie Glab here with Bills legend Steve Tasker, and it seemed like the rails started to fall off in this game from the beginning, and the Bills just could not recover from some of those early errors, early penalties. A lot of things that they did went wrong. They couldn't get their footing under them. They couldn't move the ball down the field. We came into this game down an offensive lineman, down a defensive lineman, and you could really see how that factored into the Bills' play today. I looked at this game thinking turnover differential would be huge in this matchup. The Bills came in leading the NFL, 24 takeaways. The Colts second with 21. Well, the Bills commit 4 turnovers today. The Colts 0. So, Steve, what went wrong in this game from the beginning?
It started early. The Bills coming back to answer the opening drive by the Colts, go down for a touchdown. And we've seen this a little bit before from the Bills. Early on in the games, the other team's offense has a little bit of success before the Bills make some adjustments on the sidelines between series and kind of get a handle on it. Listen, they're the number one scoring defense in the National Football League coming into this one, so you had every reason to believe that the early success of the Colts, the Bills would find a way to shut it down. The Bills' offense comes back on the field, drives into the Colt territory. They're in field goal range. On a 3rd and 3, they snap it to Josh Allen. He takes off around the end. It's gonna go. They blow the play dead because of an offsides. 2 penalties later, on a 3rd and 18, the Bills have to throw it deep. It's picked off, and then the game gets out of hand from there because the Bills can't answer. They can't adjust. They can't take the Colts out of that run game that was so effective. And it ended up being a beatdown, really, for the Colts. And you can say that, and it's disappointing, no question, but the Colts are playing as good a football right now as anybody in the NFL. In their last 8 games, they have 6 wins and 2 overtime losses, one against Baltimore, 1 against Tennessee, and they have 6 wins other than that. They started 0-3, but when they have found themselves, the Colts are a legitimate team in the AFC.
Colts are now 6-5, definitely in the hunt for the playoffs. Jonathan Taylor had a day, 185 rushing yards, 5 total touchdowns for him. And questions about the defense, why they couldn't stop Jonathan Taylor, what went wrong there. We'll send it over to Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde to hear their thoughts on the loss.
So it wasn't like this was a surprise. How disappointed are you in what Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line was able to do?
Very, very disappointed. You guys can answer every one of the questions you guys are about to ask us. Honestly, you guys know our responses. We can't go out like that. You got to stop the run. Everything starts with stopping the run, affecting their quarterback and taking the ball away. And we did none today. Not one thing. Didn't do well on 3rd down. Didn't do well in the red zone. Like I said, didn't take the ball away. Didn't put Winston in tough situations, and they were able to run the ball. Giving too much yardage on 1st and 2nd down. 3rd down, they were getting the 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Still able to run the ball. They got a good run game, so we weren't able to stop it. That's formula for winning for them, and it's formula for losing for us.
Mike, I don't know that I know the answer to this next question, but I know it's hard to draw comparisons game to game. But I think back to Tennessee and Derrick Henry, elite type running back, and then today with Jonathan Taylor. Can you make any connection between the two? Because it seems as if you're coming up short in that area against backs and teams like that.
2 very good backs, 2 very good run games. I don't know how you want me to answer that question.
Does it point to an issue with you guys defensively?
I don't know, man. Check the stats. I don't know. You guys know all about the stats. I don't know how to answer that question. We feel like we have been doing pretty well, stopping the run all season. Obviously going against a guy like Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor, 2 very good backs. We got to find a way to limit that.
You guys are always pretty aware of the way things go. Is this today more about you guys than it is about them? Do you feel that way? Like you got to look, the whole team look internally when it's a day like today?
Of course. That's a good football team. But at the same time, we understand we're a better football team than what we showed today. So yeah, of course, it's one of those you got to take a look in the mirror. You got a game on Thursday, short turnaround. So we're able to come back tomorrow and obviously the 24-hour rule and get ready to play on Thursday night.
the 3 losses in the last 5 games since Kansas City. Are you guys at a point now where it's like a tipping point? You guys have got to get out of this slide, or you could have a season kind of go in the trasher here?
Obviously, you want to be able to win each and every game. The NFL is tough. We talk about this each and every week. It's a challenge. Doesn't matter what the record is of the opponent. It's a challenge each and every week. You got to go out there. You got to play. You got to force some takeaways and put up some points. Our focus is now going towards Thanksgiving game, and we understand that we, have to win that game.
Jordan, is it beneficial to be playing again so soon to, be able to get back out there and get
Very
this
much
taste
so.
out of your mouth?
Of course. That's a great question. Yes. We're excited to get back to work and play Thursday night.
Mike, is it fair to say that the details where you guys are always so great on kind of went the other way for you today, and the penalty on a 3rd and long, the couple balls that were batted right there, maybe you almost came up with one, and those things just didn't go your way today like they normally do? Yeah,
100%. We had a couple 3rd down stops, I think, and then penalties. I think it was 2 of them. Penalties gave them the 1st down. It's brutal. Finally we get them in a situation where they have to pass the ball. We know it. We got some stops, and then penalties hurt us. So, like I said, man, whenever you give up points in the red zone, don't take the ball away, turn the ball over, don't get off the field on 3rd down, penalties. This is what's going to happen. Floodgates.
Pulling out first place in the division for the first time in a long time, create any sense of urgency?
We always need to have some urgency coming in here. That it's still a long season, plenty of games left, short week and quick turnaround going into Thursday.
How do you guys continue to stack wins, not only, against all the opponents, but some of the contending teams, in the league?
Start with winning just one game at a time. No point in looking past the Saints now. We got to win. We got to beat the Saints. So, just got to take one day at a time, 1 week at a time. I fell short this week. Find a way to bounce back. Short week this week on Thursday night, and come ready to play.
Do you guys mind how impactful was not having Star out there today?
Not having Star? Obviously, Star's a big part of our defense, big part of our team. What he brings to our team is huge. Obviously, we want to have a guy like him out there in a game like this. We know they're going to run the ball, and but we always preach next man in, and we feel like whoever steps in is going to go out there and compete. You guys have seen it plenty of times with the guys that step in end up having big games. Just unfortunately, no one really played well today, and I don't think it was that position. It was just everybody just didn't play up to their capability.
Jordan, Mike touched on it earlier. The penalties just seem to be a killer today, and it, unfortunately, has not been a one-game thing. You've had some issues with penalties this season. When those are going against you, what do you do to try to shake out of that?
A couple of those penalties are aggressive penalties, so it's hard to, those are tough, man. Obviously, you don't want to have a penalty on 3rd down, especially when you feel like you got off the field. But it's tough. You got to figure out a way to just be better, I guess.
How frustrating was it right before halftime to have that special teams turnover? You went from possibly the 17-10 or 17-14 to 24-7.
Yeah, it's tough. But speaking defensively, we got to go out there and try to prevent them from getting 7 points. And I think they end up scoring on the first play of that offensive drive. So it's tough. Tough turning the ball over and tough defensively not getting stops.
No takeaways for the defense. 41 total points scored by the Indianapolis Colts, and you heard it from Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. They knew that they came up flat in this game. They did not give the ball back to the offense as many times as they wanted to. They were close. Sometimes they were very close to getting an interception or two on tipped passes. They were able to get their hands up in the passing lanes at times, but it didn't turn into what they wanted. So, Steve, why did they have such a hard time stopping Jonathan Taylor today? Because coming into this game, the only rusher they had allowed more than 70 yards to was Derrick Henry. He rushed for 143 yards and had 3 rushing touchdowns against the Bills. Jonathan Taylor does more than that, 185, 5 total touchdowns. Where is the issue here in the Bills' defense?
I think one of the things the Colts have really got a nice run game, and one of the reasons for it, certainly Jonathan Taylor is the centerpiece, but we also saw him hand the football off occasionally to other guys around, use some speed and some misdirection as well. Jonathan Taylor's the centerpiece, and then you see the extra possession really that the Colts got out of this scramble by Carson Wentz. They had him dead to rights. It comes down to a touchdown by Jonathan Taylor. That's a crusher for a team who should have been off the field defensively and ends up giving up. The drive continues, giving up a long 3rd and long to Carson Wentz on a missed sack. And that just continues to steamroll. The defense takes a deep breath, and all of a sudden they've given up another touchdown because they're discouraged because of they had him stopped and didn't get the credit for it. But getting back to your point, you got to win the line of scrimmage. You've got to have guys that can make tackles. You can't break tackles. You saw a couple of missed tackles today. As a general rule, that hasn't been the case. And when you miss tackles, a lot of guys getting the football, but one centerpiece guy who you're not quite sure if he's going to get it. Good ball handling by Carson Wentz. Just a really easy, I think, an easy decision day for the Colts because they could give it to anybody they wanted, knew they weren't going to get stuffed. And I think winning the line of scrimmage has got to be one of the things that's going to bother the Buffalo Bills. 264
total rushing yards for the Colts. The Bills just had 91 rushing yards. A couple of offensive line penalties early kind of negated the Buffalo Bills from getting close to the end zone on a couple of their first drives. We'll hear from Dion Dawkins as he's on the podium right now.
Dion, is that one kind of going the category of embarrassing, the way you guys lost that one?
I think it kind of goes in the category of flush it and just let it go and move on. Like we have a game in a couple days. We ain't play our best ball. It showed. We got a game in a couple days.
Is it concerning, though? You had 2 of those in 3 weeks, flush it games.
Yeah, but the good thing is that we have another game coming. We can show our best ball. It's not really concerning. I have high faith and high trust in our team and our players. It happens to the best of all people, best of all teams. There ain't really nothing much that we could do but flush it, learn from it as quick as possible, and move on.
So can you speak more specifically to maybe what's going on, some of the problems that are happening up front, and maybe why you're so confident they can be corrected and straightened out?
Not really. I could really just speak on the type of men that we have in the building, and I know that the type of men that we have in the building don't let this stuff, poison us. It'll help us. It'll help us when it matters, and we're just gonna have to just eat this one up and just take it on to Thursday night.
Dion, last year you had an identity on offense. You could throw it on anybody, you move the ball.
Absolutely.
Do you have an identity on offense now? Do you believe you guys do?
I mean, yeah. We are a great team. But we have great players. We can throw the ball extremely well. We can run. We're starting to run better, but we're all around a good team. It's just we have to be good all of the time, and that's kind of what it is. And we just have to just try to stay as consistent as possible, and that's the profession that we live in. It's hard to be perfect all of the time, and that's what everyone wants. That's what we want, and it's kind of impossible, but we try our best.
Yeah, how difficult has it been, especially lately, when you guys have to constantly shuffle guys around on the offensive line, whether it be injuries or now Spencer on the COVID list?
Yeah, anytime where you can lose a starter or anytime where there's a sudden change drastically, it's always a little sticky, but, in this world with COVID, in this world with football and a 100% injury rate, stuff happens. And we just have to learn how to just adapt and keep it pushing. But it is hard. But life is hard. So we just got to just figure out what we're doing, which is be our best person individually so we can be better for our team, which is do our 111.
Is it extra disappointing when you have one of the lowest vaccination rates in the league?
Say it again?
When you have one of the lowest vaccination rates in the league, does that make it especially galling to miss key players?
I mean, everybody has a personal choice to get vaccinated or not, which is why it's a free state, or free country. So hey, guys make their own decision, and we have to live with it,
Yeah, did the early 14-0 deficit affect the game plan offensively?
Anytime when a team can get up on another team and kind of lean us more towards whether it's throwing or running, or that is part of ball, and it can be difficult. Like when another team can put the pressure on us or put the pressure on them and make them one-dimensional, but that's ball, and that's what every team plays for. And the Colts did a great job of jumping on us early, and it put us in a different lane. But,
Dion, when you lose a game this way, is there some advantage to quickly turning around and playing a game on Thursday and moving on quickly?
Yeah, it's both ends, because it's a disadvantage and it's an advantage, because we don't have to let this one sit on us for a full week. We can flush it fast and keep it going naturally. But the best thing that we have to do is just recover as fast as possible and get our minds and our bodies ready for this Thursday night game.
Thanks, everybody.
Dion, echoing what the defensive players said, this is a game they want to flush fast, and thankfully they can, because they've got a Thanksgiving game coming up, so they'll have to flip the script really quickly and begin to prepare for that Saints game. But in a loss like this, there were things that were exposed to where other teams can pick things, can pull things from this game, from other losses that the Bills have had in this one. So this is a loss where you really want to dig into the film here and learn from some of these things that were shown are going to be shown on film to these players tonight, tomorrow, throughout the week. What do you think these guys can learn from?
Well, they certainly can learn from, it's frustrating, I think, for the players, because it's not like, this mistake or a bunch of these mistakes at the same time. They actually cut their penalties down in this game. Certainly the interceptions were up. You got 3 interceptions on the day, 2 by Josh, 1 by Mitch Trubisky. Lost a fumble as well. The turnovers are a problem. Missed tackles were a problem. Some guys getting beat at the line of scrimmage were a problem. Stopping the run was a problem. Offensively, bad penalties at the wrong time were a problem. Couple of dropped passes. It was a lot of different things. So it's hard to pinpoint where the problem is, and perhaps it was between their ears, maybe. But I know this: they were playing against a really good football team today, a team that's playing as well as anybody in the league, and they weren't quite ready. That was a game where the Bills were going to have to play extremely well to win, and they just weren't up to it today. And I think that's the discouraging part. But it's a double-edged sword. In 4 days, they're playing again. They got to get ready.
Exactly. I think a lot of people knew coming into this one it would be a tough game because the Colts are a tough opponent. Josh Allen is at the podium. Here are his thoughts after the loss.
Yeah, home games. We need to have games like these. One thing led to another today. I think on all 3 phases of the ball. Starts with us taking care of the football, and we didn't do that today. It's a terrible feeling, but at the same time, we got to play Thursday. So this one's got to be out of our system before tomorrow. We got to be ready to go on Thursday, and I think that's a fortunate thing for us that we get to play on Thursday and try to get this taste out of our mouths.
I know it's you don't let the outside noise come in, but when the narrative starts to be nationally like, are the Bills frauds? How do you not let that infiltrate the team? You get a couple bad losses like this in a couple weeks.
We know who we are, and that we put out there on that field, that's not who we are.
That's 2 losses in 3 games, I guess 3 and 5 since Kansas City. Can you diagnose a lot of what the issues are offensively?
Again, just protecting the football. Execution is what it comes down to, and we're not executing at a high enough level right now. So, it starts with me.
Josh, you mentioned there that that's not who we are, but as Adam just pointed out, it's 2 and 3 in the last 5 games. That's half the season. How do you square those 2 things? And which team are you then? Are you the one that went 4 and 1, or are you the one that went 2 and 3 here the last 5?
We're a really good football team when we don't bite ourselves in the butt. Again, what we put on that field today is not who we are. I got a lot of trust and a lot of faith in our team, and there's no secret that we need to do a better job on all fronts. There's no way around it. But at the same time, it's not panic mode. We got to learn from this one and move on as quickly as possible because, again, we're playing on Thursday night.
Josh, this doesn't happen often, but when it does, internally, does anything change? You guys are team player driven in terms of, I mean, some teams have team meetings or whatever it is. Does anything like that happen when a game goes as south as this one did?
I mean, it can.
Is that not the way you guys normally handle it?
I mean, we'll keep all those discussions internal. You know, whether we do anything like that or not, that's kind of between us. But again, I think, you know, we've got an opportunity on Thursday to go out there and try to execute a game plan. You know, that's what it comes down to. We gotta dig deep and work hard this week and try to move past this one.
Josh, how can you guys avoid the most costly penalties without giving up on that aggressiveness?
You know, there's a fine line between all that stuff, and you know, we just got to be on the safe side, I guess. You know, there's just one thing after another today. It's really what it came down to, and it just was a big domino effect of why we lost that game. And ultimately, it was, you know, holding on to the football and not putting it in harm's way. And we did that too much tonight. And again, that's a stat that'll never really be wrong, is turnover differential. And again, we're not doing a good enough job with that.
Is there a sense that this season might be slipping away right now?
No. How disastrous was the end of the first half when you were thinking double dip there and you end up fumbling the kickoff and it's 24-7 instead of maybe 17-14 best case?
It's football, you know. Coach preaches it all the time, situational football, and that's just, again, one thing leads to another, and that's why we got the result that we did today. You know, we weren't detailed enough. We didn't execute well enough. You know, that's got to change.
I guess to follow up, Dawson, what gives you the confidence that this team can rebound from this tough stretch that you're in?
I mean, we've seen how resilient we are. We know that offense, defense, special teams, we got the parts that we need to succeed. You know, you learn a lot from games like this, and we're going to get right back in the film room and get ready for Thursday. But I think it's good to have a game coming up quick so we can get that bad taste out of our mouths.
Josh, what happened on the first interception? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, safety made a good play. He gets paid on that side of the football too. It's a route concept that we run often, and maybe they were sitting on it. You know, it's no secret. So again, I just got to be smarter with the football there. They were playing 55, and safety lurked and made a good play.
That came after back-to-back penalties on the offensive line. How do you guys stop that from occurring? And then what type of a situation did that put you in from a mental standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, there's all these stats that support being in third long. Obviously, is not what you want to be in. Like I said, one thing leads to another, and again, it starts with me. So I gotta find a better way to not put us in that situation.
Josh, in such a short, work week, how do you guys pinpoint the inconsistencies and fix them?
Yeah, we got to rely on each other, rely on our coaching staff, rely on what they're telling us. Try to put together a game plan. Again, we've played in a few Thursday nights since I've been here. These are ones that come up on you quick, and you got to find a game plan as quickly as possible, and it really just comes down to execution.
To get Diggs more involved. Obviously, he had the touchdowns today, but I think just 4 catches. What were they doing to minimize him?
I mean, again, they were just playing soft zones, and it's nothing that we haven't seen before. But just the level of execution, what it comes down to, and whether I got to just force him the ball and get him going. It's not something I want to do, but I got to find ways to get him the ball.
Dawson, how big of a game is this coming week? Judging on how things have gone recently, is this any bigger than any other game, or is?
No, I mean, it's just another game for us. We always say the next game's the biggest. Like I said earlier, I'm excited to get back on the field quicker. We'll get the corrections tomorrow, but we'll slap the taste out of our mouth. We got the 24-hour rule. This time tomorrow we'll be done with it. We'll be moving on, and we'll be all focused on Thursday.
Does it sting that you're looking up at the Patriots now in the standings?
What's that?
Does it sting that you're looking up at the Patriots now in the standings? You're supposed to walk away with this
We haven't even played them yet, so we're just going to take it week by week. It's just all about Thursday now.
How frustrating is it that this offense just can't, like, one week you put up 40 plus, and then you have days like today, how frustrating is it they can't get things going consistently?
I mean, it comes down to execution, and we're just not doing a good enough job with that, and that's really what it comes down to. It's one thing after another. I keep alluding to that, but it's just little mistakes that end up being big ones and putting us behind the chains, and that's not how we play football. And again, I've got no doubt that we're going to correct things and find a way to get back on track.
Did you get a sense that maybe Indy had a sense of revenge taking off you guys in the playoffs, just like you had a sense of revenge against Kansas City to let this all go?
Sure. I'm sure that's still on their minds as it was on ours. Typically teams come out and they play hard, when they lose like that. But at the same time, we had to come out here and try to execute, and we didn't do that today, and they did.
Do you feel like collectively you guys are maybe putting Josh into situations where there's too much pressure on him, whether it's just not being able to make enough plays to kind of support him and get the offense moving?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every time he throws me the ball, I want to be able to catch it, and that didn't happen today. I think everybody on our offense would say the same thing, whether it's the O-line giving them time and, the tight ends blocking in the run game, catching in the pass game. We play for the love of each other, and when I have drops like that, there's no excuse. And it definitely puts extra pressure on him, and I can't even imagine what he has to deal with, the reads he goes through, calling the plays, getting everyone lined up. I mean, nobody can understand that unless you're in his shoes. So, there's a lot of corrections for us to have, especially me, and we'll get that worked out.
Thanks, everyone.
The Quarterback Press Conference is brought to you by Lombardo Funeral Home, proud sponsor of the Buffalo Bills.
Josh Allen there explaining that he thinks this team can correct the mistakes, and it starts with him. So if it starts with Josh, let's look at his performance today. He threw 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and it seemed like at times, and I go back to this Jacksonville loss, he did the same thing. At times, he gets in a situation where still he's feeling like he needs to put it all on his back and put it all on himself. And I understand, because they weren't scoring on a lot of their drives. They had 9 drives and scored on 2 of them. So as a quarterback, you do feel like you maybe have to do a little bit more. But when Josh does that, he puts himself in situations that turn into interceptions or fumbles. So how can he get out of going back into that Josh Allen that we knew his rookie season and his second season, where he was rushing for a lot of yards every game and he was making these hero ball mistakes, which we do love to see out of him sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't help the team out.
Right, and I think some of it is a little bit trying to do too much even before the snap. The hard counts and stuff that sometimes make his offensive lineman jump. That's what happened to Cody Ford earlier. They gave a hard count, then came back with the same count, and Cody Ford was out a little early. Stuff where this team is right now is reminding me a little bit of the Kansas City Chiefs team from a year ago. They kind of sleptwalked through the regular season. They won some games, very close games. They kept winning, but they were winning, won enough. They did get they got the top seed, no question about it. But they really didn't seem like they had their foot on the gas. This Bills team, I don't think they were as good as that team was a year ago, the Chiefs team I'm talking about, at least not at the present moment with the injuries and the COVID list. But they seem to be like just waiting for the playoffs to start so they can turn it on. It's a dangerous game to play with a 17-game schedule when so many teams are right there with you, and all of a sudden you get squeezed out at the finish line and you don't get to play in the tournament. The Bills are a really good football team, but I think they do need to stay healthy, and they do need to play better than they have been on a more regular basis to win games when they're not playing their best. When they're injured and when they got guys on the COVID list, and they don't play their best, they're not good enough to beat a team like the Colts. And the Colts are playing well, let's face it. But this stretch of the next 4 games with the Colts, with the Saints, with the Bucs, and the Patriots, these are 4 really good football teams. They've got to play well, and they've got to be healthy in order to have a good chance to win in all those games.
You've been there before. You've been in games where everything has gone wrong, from the offense to the defense to special teams. And maybe that's not a positive in this one, but it's nice to know that everything didn't just go wrong on one side of the football and it was a 41-15 score. Like, things went wrong on defense, things went wrong on offense, things went wrong on special teams. That's why the score was 41-15. That's why they lost the way that they lost. You've been in games like that as an NFL player. You've been in games like that probably during a great season where you guys did make a run in the playoffs and ended up in the Super Bowl like you did multiple years in a row. Where did your team go from losses like that to rebound to going right back to the track that you know you need to be on?
You come out and everybody does their basic job just right. And what happens is you need to come out and have your quarterback take the easy completion, take the yards that are there, don't turn the football over, protect the football, trust that your talent is going to get you down the field. And on defense, play very close to the vest. Make sure you keep everything in front of you. Force the other team to play really well to beat you. And when they can't and you have some success, then it starts to steamroll in the other direction. You've just got to play as well as you can, obviously, but play within the line. You don't have to go outside of your comfort zone. You don't have to do things special when you're a really good team to win football games, but you do have to do them the right way. And I think that's where the Bills have to come back to earth and just say, listen, let's just do this the right way and trust that we're going to have some success doing it. And then when things break and they start to go your way and you start to have some success, then you can start to spread your wings and maybe try and do some things. But I think for the time being, the Bills just need to do everything the right way, guard against mistakes that are self-inflicted, and then let the chips fall where they may and rely on your talent to carry you through, because they are a good football team. They're talented. Like I said, they've got some guys out of the lineup for different reasons, and they had some mistakes today. And playing a good football team, that's basically all it took.
Yeah, it's this one of the most frustrating parts about this game is when the Bills have lost before, usually it's that they beat themselves. If they didn't commit the 7 penalties that they had for 56 yards, if they didn't turn the ball over 4 times, these mistakes that are easily avoidable, maybe not easily avoidable because mistakes do happen in every single football game and I am not an NFL player, but if they were able to avoid some of these mistakes, then they could have put themselves probably in a better position to where it wouldn't be a multiple score loss that you're looking at today.
Randy, you don't have to be an NFL player to see, the Bills were doing it to themselves again. The interceptions, yeah, sure, those are good plays by the defense, but it's also where you're a 3rd and 18 instead of a 1st and 10 going in on that first drive. Where you come out, Cody Ford steps out late, all of a sudden, okay, it was instead of 3rd and 3 where you got Josh Allen coming around the corner after the play started and it was going to be there. They had the first down converted. Then all of a sudden, okay, now it's 3rd and 8. You get a holding penalty. Now it's 3rd and 18, and he has to try and get past the sticks, and it's an interception. 3 plays in a row, you did it to yourself. And that gave the Colts a chance to come back, and now it's 14-0, and now you're in a hole that you spend the rest of the first half trying to get out of. You try and double dip at the end of the first half. You're the best kicker in the league. He misses a kick.
That wind was not in his favor today. You try a 57-yard kick in a wind like that, and then another one with the wind and the rain. Again, the wind is not a reason why the Bills lost this game, but it is another thing that factored into them probably not moving the ball as easily as they could. We know the Bills' run game is not as good as the Colts' run game. The Bills do not have a Jonathan Taylor running back. We have 3 running backs who can get it going at times and can be really good at times. We saw Matt Breida break it off for that 28-yard run there when he was able to get into the game, but when you get into a game like that where it's rainy, where it's windy, where Josh's passes aren't looking as good as they need to look, where he's not giving receivers the looks that they need or the offensive line isn't giving him the time so he can see the field correctly, you got to rely on your run game. And we've said this multiple times. When the passing game doesn't show up, and you need to go to the run game hasn't always shown up. It's not all on the running backs. It's not all on the offensive line. But if you want to be a team who makes it deep into the playoffs and wins consistently in the playoffs, you have to be balanced when you need to be balanced.
One of the things, too, that this game turned on and that kind of started to get out of hand in the first half is Isaiah McKenzie coughs it up, and they almost gives up a touchdown after giving up a touchdown. They get 2 quick touchdowns to end that first half to put them up 24-3. And now you're sitting there going, now we really do have to alter our game plan and alter how we're attacking this defense because we've got to get back in this. And that in and of itself puts you at the mercy of a really good defensive front for the Colts, a good athletic secondary who can now start to attack the football a little bit, and your offensive line still has to do an even harder job in protecting your quarterback because the Colts know he's dropping back.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah McKenzie fumbles that kick return and puts the Colts at the 2-yard line. That is an inexcusable mistake that special teams makes. I mean, special teams can play into these games so much, whether it's for the good or for the bad. And we saw how it affected the Bills, at least for the bad in that
0
game.
for 2 on field goals and a coughed-up kickoff return to go in to the 2-yard line sets up a one-play drive for a touchdown. That's 13 points that go off the board, that go off the board for you and go right onto the top of the scoreboard for the Colts, and that's how you lose football games by a large margin.
These are all little things that add up. You point to the 13 points right there on the Bills' first drive of the game. They were looking in good position to at least kick a field goal, maybe get in the end zone, but then you saw those 2 offensive line penalties that just set them back into a 3rd and 18 situation where they just couldn't make anything happen. So now as we look into Week 12, the Bills have a game against the New Orleans Saints on Thanksgiving, and then they'll have a Monday night game against the Patriots, who are now the first place team in the AFC East. This loss is a wake-up call for the Buffalo Bills. So as we look at the schedule from here on out, what has to happen, because your margin of error when we look ahead in these games shrinks a lot. The Bills now have 4 losses on the season. We know the easiest way to get to the Super Bowl is by having a bye that first week and by hosting the playoffs. We know how hard it is for the Bills, for any team to get to the Super Bowl by playing that first week in the wild card. I mean, by the time you get to the Super Bowl, you are a tired team. You definitely are facing some injuries because you've been playing since September, October, since the beginning of the season, and you haven't had that break that a team loves to have in that wild card round. But this is the wake-up call for the Buffalo Bills. So as we look ahead, what needs to happen from here on out?
Well, they've got to cut really what they do, and these guys are saying all the right things, and they have from the beginning. They know that it's about them and their ability to play. And I think one of the things they've got to do is like I said, get back to basics. Don't try. And this is something I learned losing 4 Super Bowls. You don't have to do anything special to win games. Just being you is enough to win. You don't have to just do the ordinary things in an extra special way. Just do the ordinary stuff. You don't have to go outside your comfort zone. You don't have to do something extraordinary. Just be you. If the Bills can just be them without trying to score on every play, without trying to go, crazy on every play and trying to win every game on one play. Just go out and play well and be themselves. And I think that will bring them back to earth and maybe cut out some of the urgency penalties where they're trying to get a break on the ball, or the false starts, the roughing the passer calls. When they're so hyped up to get to the quarterback, he slips through their fingers and runs for a first down. If they just, I think on both sides of the ball, they would just take a deep breath, come back and remember how good a football team they are, and trust in each other that I don't have to do it myself. Just do my job. The big picture will take care of itself. And I think in some respects, Maddie, this is a team that doesn't realize that just being themselves is going to be good enough to win every game they go into. But when they try to start doing things in an extraordinary way, like when these games get out and Josh tries to do it himself, plays the hero ball. When the defense tries to do it, guys try to make plays. They don't have to do that. They're good enough playing and just being who they are, and they got to have confidence in that.
We will hopefully hear from head coach Sean McDermott shortly. He's not available just yet, but yeah, you talk about this team being themselves. They are good enough. This is a talented Bills team. They have not gone anywhere. It is still in them. They come into this game second, averaging 31 points a game, and first on defense, allowing just 15 points a game. Come into this game with plus 145 point differential. Come into this game leading the NFL, plus 14 in turnover differential. You don't get those numbers by being an average meh team. This is a really talented team who has the capability to get back to those old ways. And let's think back to the last Thanksgiving game, shall we? That's when the Bills played the Cowboys, and it was Josh Allen and the offense's coming out party. They lit up the scoreboard on a huge stage.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to, I think they'll remember that, no question. I think it's going to be a special week for them, no doubt. These short weeks, in some ways, they're like, oh my gosh, depending on how you come out of this game. If they come out relatively healthy and unscathed without the normal bumps and with the bumps and bruises normally you get, and no extra stuff, injuries that are really going to have to drag them down. And if they can get healthy and get some guys back on the field, all of that stuff, and they can go out on a quick week when mentally you think, okay, we're going to just do what we do. You kind of strip things down, the game plan becomes a little bit more simple, I believe, because there's no time to run through these reps big time for the team coming up. And so you have to feel really confident that this team's going to take a step back, come out and play a little bit more free and just relaxed a little bit. That, no question, though, this game was against a really good football team in Indianapolis who needed this win in a desperate way, who showed up and played as good a game as they have played all season. And the Bills did not. They just did not. And it's disturbing for that reason, because you think, the Bills want to keep pace in the playoff race. But over the last 3 weeks, the Jacksonville game, the Jet game, they came back, bounced back, and the Jets were almost non-competitive. And now this game as well. The Bills it seems like they're in this cycle of we got to remind ourselves that, we got to play and play well, even against every opponent, not just the ones we think we can beat. And you show up against Jacksonville and the Jets, and there's two completely different football teams. You got to find a consistency of performance in yourself. And I think this team mentally, I think the problems they have, even in a horrible loss like this, I think they got to think, man, it's all between our ears.
Yeah.
We got to just show up and be us.
The Bills haven't lost 2 straight games this season. They haven't lost 2 straight games many times since Sean McDermott took over as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And you look at the schedule for this week. I mean, today is Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday. They have to, like I said, flip the script pretty quickly to start getting ready for that New Orleans Saints game. They leave to go to New Orleans on Wednesday. The game is on Thursday. So you really have 2 days of full prep for this opponent. They're probably going to do something on Wednesday before they fly out for the game. The game is the night game, an 8:30 kick. But yeah, you have to simplify things, as you were talking about, in a matchup like this when you just have a couple days of prep, which could be just what the Bills need, right? To simplify things, to get back to the basics, to get back to the fundamentals, which is what we hear Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier, and Brian Daboll say after losses. It's all about getting back to the basics, playing fundamentally sound football. On all 3 phases of the game, in all 3 phases of the game. So maybe stripping it down to just what you're good at, what not adding much more in is the perfect game plan. It's
a great environment for being able, like Dion Dawkins said earlier in the program, you just got to flush this game. You got to just let it go, and you don't have time to dwell on it. I mean, you got another game in a couple of days. That's a plus, I think, for the players. Fans are we stew on it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be game day, and we'll start thinking about the Saints game, and it's Thanksgiving, and we'll all be doing other things. Will be a great distraction. But for the players, they'll think about this probably through this evening. When they get up tomorrow, they are full go on the New Orleans Saints. They're going to be thinking about that next game, and that's a real comforting thing as a player when you can go in and say, listen, I know that game was bad, but I don't have to think about it because I got something more important on the plate, and it's the game. And I think it's a good thing for the Bills, but it also sets them up, just like we've been talking about, say, okay, if the pattern holds true that we've seen over this, they're going to come out and play well Thanksgiving night. Mm-hmm. But they're going to look in the mirror every morning when they shave and go, man, I got to do better.
Yeah.
I got to play more consistently. I can't do this. I can't make these mistakes. We had dropped passes in this game. We had fumbles in this game. Untimely penalties. Like I said, though, the number of penalties, 7 penalties, that's actually down from ones we've seen recently where they had one game with 12 penalties, right?
Jacksonville Jaguars game.
But still, they had 2 penalties on back-to-back plays that cost them points and cost them an opportunity to try for points. Those penalties are still crushers for this team, and if they can get over that, get back to playing mistake-free when they do get the ball off, they're going to show us who they are. and they're going to be back to the talented group we know we are, who up until probably this game were considered favorites to go to the Super Bowl.
Yep, completely. Well, head coach Sean McDermott is available. Let's send it over to him.
For sure.
Yeah, obviously wasn't good enough at all today. Starts with me, and when you look at it, taking care of the football, point of attack up front on defense, and just sound fundamentals, and then hurting ourselves with penalties. So let's just start there. And even not having looked at the film, I mean, we got to do a better job in those areas.
Sean, when you look at the losses this season, the Steelers, the Titans, the Colts, some teams that you knew coming in were going to be physical, how concerned are you about the physicality of your team kind of matching that on the other sideline?
Well, I mean, I believe we're a physical football team. Again, what I mentioned about the point of attack, in particular on the defensive side, I felt like it could have been better. We've been better, just in terms of our hand violence up front. So 250, 286 yards, whatever it was rushing is, it's hard to win. And then when you turn the ball over, that's a bad formula right there.
I know it's hard, Sean, to connect game to game, right, and personnel to personnel, but I think back to the Tennessee loss with what Henry was able to do against you guys, and there were comparisons made with Taylor coming into this one, and he was pretty effective. As strong as your defense has been, do you see that as an issue?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, we've got to get that fixed. There's a formula to win, and there's a formula on the other end of it too. And when you're giving up, when we're getting beat at the point of attack, obviously I got to do a better job there. So, we got a quick turnaround, getting ready for Thursday night, and getting the players back rested and ready to go.
Sean, how do you go about improving your run defense? Like, how do you do that?
Well, it comes back to there's a mentality with that, Heather. I would say that starts with a mentality and an attitude. In a lot of ways, it's a one-on-one game, and we talk about that as a team. It's a one-on-one game. You got to win your one-on-ones, and then you got to tackle well. And I didn't think we did either. Again, not having looked at the film, but just looking at it on the surface from the sideline, it was even times when we were there, it was pushing on us pretty good from 2nd and 7 at times to 3rd and short, and that's not a healthy way to live.
I know this is out of your control, but how much did you miss Star out there?
Yeah, respectfully, I'm just going to talk about the guys that are here. That's just what I believe in, and I thought the guys out there, they played hard. It wasn't good enough, but they played hard. I'll just leave it at that.
Is it an extra goal, I know, when it's a COVID-19 issue that affects the anchor for your run defense, not to mention your right tackle?
Well, again, I respect those guys' decisions, and I'm going to talk about the guys that were here.
Coach, Indianapolis were able to, produce 70% on 3rd down. That's uncharacteristic of your defense. There's a lot of mental errors there on 3rd down. What do you think is the reason behind the inconsistencies on both sides as of late?
Yeah, I don't know about the mental errors, Mookie. I think just more they were on schedule, had some 3rd and shorts, 3rd and 5 or lesses, quite a few in there. We had opportunities, had an opportunity on the, I think the drive before half, and we were on defense. I think we roughed the passer one time. Next 3rd down, we had an opportunity on a sack, and Carson gets out. So there were opportunities to get off the field. We didn't get the job done.
Sean, with some recent and past ball security issues for Isaiah McKenzie, how confident are you in him as a returner moving forward?
Yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident in Isaiah. But we can't. He knows that we can't turn the ball over. I mean, it's you can be as good a team as you want, but if you don't take care of that football, you're gonna have a hard time winning.
Penalties in critical situations today on both sides of the ball. How do you clean that up? I know it's something that you've talked about multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, we have seven penalties, 5 pre or post, pre-snap, post whistle. So very untimely, and some of the unnecessary roughness calls or penalties, I should say, not the call, but the penalty. We got to play smarter, and I expect that from my team.
Sean, you've been very consistent how you've handled wins and losses, but the Jags loss and then this kind of loss are uncharacteristic of what your team has been. Does that force you to, or make you want to change things more dramatically than you normally would, or the way your players handle it internally more than coming from the coaches? Yeah. Meaning, like, the players get together I mean, it's on the coaches, it's on the players too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's on all of us, right? And the two common aspects of both of those losses were turnovers. And I keep talking about it. You cannot turn the ball over. I mean, we turned the ball over 4 times today, and it led to 21 points. So you just can't do that. And this team feasted on taking the ball away, and then we turn it over not only on offense but on special teams. You can't do that and expect to win. You make it really hard on yourself.
Like I said, nobody stepped up on defense. How tough is it to maintain, next guy up mentality when you have a game like this and a result like this and nobody does step up like
Well, that's what, and going back to Jerry's question about guys that aren't here, it's a next man up mentality, and we expect the guy that steps in to do his job and do it at a high level for us to win. I can't control the guys that aren't here, really respectfully, Jerry.
No, I just mean anybody to step up that is here. Like when that doesn't happen and a result like this happens, how tough is it the week after to maintain that message and have it hurt?
I'm not sure. I just want to make sure I answer your question. Tell me what you're asking exactly here.
So, like I said, nobody stepped up on the defensive side of the ball today. You maintained all season, next man up. When nobody steps up in a game and you go back to the drawing board and you continue that message, is it hard from a coach's perspective to continue hammering that home coming off of a game like this?
Well, I really feel like, maybe this game and a little bit of the Titans game were probably our worst 2 defensively this season, where maybe we got pushed around a little bit. And so, again, I've said before, you have to make adjustments. You got to see where you're at and then make adjustments based on where you're at and where you need to fix things. And that's what you do as coaches and as a team. We've got to continue to do that in that area, and then also some others that I've already mentioned that we've got to play. We've got to do a better job, just fundamentally. I mean, how many chances did we have just to throw and catch out there today, and just on a check down, and we're turning our eyes too quickly, going to make the run before we catch the football and secure the football. So just fundamentals, point of attack on the defensive side, and again, turning the ball over. I mean, just it's a rough life when you do that.
Yeah, in Jacksonville, clearly Josh was under siege the whole game, and that was part of why he struggled. But today, it seemed like he did have opportunities to make plays, and he didn't look real sharp. Did you feel the same way about that? Did he not have the kind of day that maybe, if he had a better day, it would have been different? It seemed like.
Well, I think, Sal, there's a lot that goes into that, right? Some timing goes into it, and I think Josh would tell you there's some throws he wants back, and then there's some opportunities we had on the ball where he put the ball where it was supposed to be, and we didn't catch it. So it's really spread throughout. And again, it all starts with me.
Sean, the weather was fine to start the game. Yeah. You guys win the toss, decided to defer. Was there any thought of, okay, the weather might turn a little bit in the second half? Was there any thought of maybe taking the ball first?
Yeah, we talked about that. I think it was yesterday, in fact, Josh, in our meeting, and felt like the rain wasn't going to get that, which it really wasn't that bad, to where it would change how the game had to be played. I felt like overall, we have a strong arm quarterback, and the game changed how we had to play it because the score was what it was, and we allowed them to play their style of game. Didn't take away the best thing they did, which is run the football.
What was the thought process on sending Tyler out there for that second field goal on 4th and 5?
Yeah, I think they were up 17, and wanted to get it to, it was 4th and 4, so we're kind of not real consistent in a great rhythm offensively, and felt like if we could at least get it to 2 scores right there. And I saw his first ball, it was 50, would have been a 7-yarder. I mean, he struck it well, and we were going the same direction, felt good about it. So he makes that kick, which he normally does, and he will going forward. We're down 2 scores at that point.
Sean, how much do you think the miscues, whether it was forcing maybe some turnovers or the drops or whatever, were a product of trying to do too much, especially with where the score may have been at the time?
Yeah, I mean, again, I felt like it started earlier, really, in the game, based on just guys trying to do too much. Like, just take what they give you, do your 1/11th, as we say, do your job, trust the guys around you, and then when the play's there to be made, you got to make it. So that's what it's called for.
Coach, with all the fundamental things that you just brought up that were absent in the game today, on this short week, are you going to be able to check off all those boxes, knowing your time is going to be constricted here?
Well, you got to be realistic. I mean, it's the best thing, the most important thing we can do is get them rested. And normally I would say we're a pretty sound fundamental football team, and we stress it a lot. As you know, you're around us every day, Chris, and but we didn't have it today. So we got to go back and figure out why and get it back as soon as we can.
Along the same lines, with such a short turnaround, how challenging is it to not let this spiral?
Well, I guess there's some bad short turnaround because you can't really get back on the practice field for all that much time, and then there's some good to it, so you can move on and move forward. I'm not really sure which one I like more, to be honest with you. So at the end of the day, no one wants to go through what we just went through. Give the Colts the credit, but again, I believe we're a better football team, but we've got to play a better complete game than what we just did in all three phases.
Sean, the inconsistencies, how big of a game is this week? Does it take on any increased importance with the way things have been going recently?
With the game this coming week, you're saying? Well, it's the next game, and it's a season it's a journey every season, and it's going to ebb and flow, and again, that to me is part of the challenge, and I love that challenge, to be honest with you. Not that you want to lose, but making those adjustments to get our team exactly where it needs to be, and learn who you are as a team, and we continue to grow and move forward, and we'll see where we are. We'll see where we are after Thursday night, and just looking at it 1 week at a time right now. All right, thank you.
Sean McDermott's press conference is brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield of Western New York, the official health plan of the Buffalo Bills.
Coach McDermott they're saying he loves the challenge, he loves the opportunity, being able to learn from their mistakes. Well, we'll see if they can do it here with a quick turnaround, a game on Thursday night, Thanksgiving against the New Orleans Saints. Plenty to work on, plenty to get to the drawing board with, right, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. We've said this about every loss, and even a loss like this, they're not going to throw roster changes and everything. They're not going to transform this team, particularly in the middle of the season like this. They know that, and the coaching staff and the players themselves know what's in there. They know how well they've played and know how well they can play, and they feel like they've got better football ahead of them and can show it. Now they got to figure out how they're going to get in there and do it. I think, and like probably most fans do, this seems like it's between the Bills' ears. Mm-hmm. This does not seem like a physical thing. Certainly the physical part of it up front on either thing, but you get healthy and you think we get a better chance to do that. When they get some guys back on the front lines and get 100% healthy on both offense and defensive line, you think that'll make a little bit of a difference. But this does seem to me like it's a little bit of a mental challenge for the Bills more so than a physical one.
Yeah, we'll see how they meet this challenge on Thursday with a chance to bounce back and get a win on Thanksgiving, and certainly on a big stage. They've done it before, and they probably believe that they can definitely do it again. Like we've said, a talented football team with several talented players. We're going to wrap it up, but make sure you stick around. MSG at 11:30 for a full version of Bills tonight. Lots more sound, breaking it down a little bit more, and some highlights for good, for bad. We're going to watch them anyway. So stick with us, 11:30 on MSG. For Steve Tasker, I'm Maddie Glab.